You have to say yes. Sometimes the opportunity comes, and even though you're not feeling like you're qualified fully for that, you will figure it out. You just have to be not afraid to say yes and go for it. Welcome to Marketing Your Way podcast. I'm Anastasia Mann, marketing strategist, agency owner, and business mentor. But more importantly, I'm your guide to breaking free from the 9-to-5 and building a marketing business on your terms. I know what it's like to crave more freedom, more impact, more income. I've been there, and this podcast is your shortcut to get in there faster. Each week, we dive into real strategies, expert insights, and mindset shifts to help you launch, grow, and scale your marketing business with confidence. And just in case you're wondering, yes, this podcast comes with a Ukrainian accent and a whole lot of straight talk. So if you've ever asked yourself, how do I find clients? What should I charge? Can I really do this? The answer is absolutely yes, and you're in the right place, my friend. Let's dive in. Okay, welcome, Hanna-Mari. So excited to have you here today. Could you please briefly introduce yourself to our listeners? Who is Hanna-Mari Kirs?
Of course. Thank you so much, Anastasia, for having me on this podcast. I'm very excited to be a part of this new and exciting adventure. I am a brand narrative strategist for purposeful entrepreneurs. So that means that I help people who want to do something different in their business, want to do something with heart and with purpose and with a very specific passion for something. I help them figure out how is it that they should address their customers, what should they say, how to find the right words to really get the attention of the customers that they truly want to serve. And really it starts with kind of understanding what it is that they want to put out in the world, what is it that they're working towards as entrepreneurs, then figuring out how to serve their customers, what is it that the customer really needs, and the words that they should use, and the tone of voice as well. So this whole thing then comes into this story that we can then use as a framework for the entrepreneur to use everywhere and anywhere. Obviously, marketing and sales, and in content creation, but also what it helps them do is really figure out how do I talk about my brand to the people that work for me as well, right? So when I'm hiring a freelancer to do my content, when I'm hiring somebody or taking somebody on board to help me do my social media, what do they understand about my brand? And how do I really convey that, what is in my mind, to those people? Because we often find ourselves kind of micromanaging those people and going like, I told you what my voice is about, but it looks like you didn't really get it. And now I'm here sitting and having to redo a lot of the work. So the kind of perhaps sometimes unexpected side effect of that is absolute clarity throughout your business as well. Who your customer is, what is it that you're saying? How are you helping your customers overcome their challenges? How do you speak? How do you not speak as well? And really how that story comes together.
That's very helpful. And storytelling nowadays is such an important way to communicate your brand. And I'm very excited to touch more on that point. I would like also to know how you got started in marketing industry, and also how you started your new adventure and owning the business that you have now.
Sure. So funnily, and if there are any listeners out there who are maybe started in a different area of expertise and then ended up somewhere completely different, I've got you. I'm in the same boat, because I am actually a special education degree holder. Never worked a day in my life in that profession, but it was this very holistic, very foundational kind of curriculum on how the human mind works, how the human mind develops, psychology, different learning styles, different medicinal studies, and so on. I was so excited to learn it all. But when I came out of the uni, I realized, okay, guardrails gone. I now need to figure out what is it that I want to do. And as luck would have it, I landed myself somehow in a very early stage startup, which was a fintech startup that back in the day, was 2013, wanted to open up a business in the UK. It had this very clear vision of, we need to help people who are underbanked and kind of don't have access to the banking services get a bank account in the UK. And I came on board. The founder asked me, like, can you write? And I was like, sure, I'll write. And that's how it started. And I started writing blogs and I started writing content. I started learning up about marketing and stuff like that. And so through the years, I was like, I'm sitting here in this marketing chair, but I really want to try my hand out in product as well. And so I kind of raised my hand and I said, I actually want to do product management as well. And so got a taste of that, spent 5 years doing that, and then moved on to sales, more in an agency setting where I got to work with a lot of different companies. And so I have this weird mix perhaps of different skills and stuff. I'm definitely a hummingbird, like Elizabeth Gilbert would say. Definitely not one to kind of pop out of the womb and go like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor. No. It has been incredibly winding, that road of getting to where I am today. And so I believe that you asked, how did I sort of get started in my own business? So I think I knew for a very long time that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. And I was searching. I feel like I was searching for that idea. Like, oh, maybe this is, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should, do this or something in this industry. And I think that relentless searching was something that was just keeping that right idea, I think, out of my mind a little bit. And I joined DCA of Amy Porterfield and the Momentum group, which is a paid membership where a lot of business people come together and kind of like discuss ideas and discuss their course ideas and stuff like that. And really, it was a very funny coincidence where I have a lot of experience with mental health issues myself and in my family and my people around us, and I knew that I wanted to do something in that realm, right? To kind of help with perhaps my experiences in that area, people who are struggling with the same things that I'm struggling with, anxiety and so on. And I felt like I wanted to do something in that area, but I was feeling I didn't have it in me to really coach people or to work one-on-one with somebody, because I just felt like I didn't have the resources, and you have to have the resources to do work like that. And for a long time, I was trying to find a way to how will I be able to do that without really working one-on-one with people. And at one point, I was scrolling through the Momentum membership Facebook group, and there was somebody who was asking about Donald Miller's Story Brand book, which Amy Porterfield happens to be a very good friend with Donald Miller. And Donald Miller's book I read when it first came out, and it became my absolute Bible. So if anybody wants to really read a very foundational work of marketing, I would really recommend picking up Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And in the group, somebody was asking, I don't really understand how do I put into practice the things that he's teaching? And, I know somebody who has like a really good resource. You're not allowed to post links directly in that group. But I said, like, if anybody wants it, I have a really good resource. I can just share it with you. Just drop me a DM and I'll share it. And I got like over 70 responses to people wanting that resource. And about halfway through copying and pasting that link to other people in the messages, I was like, why is that not my resource? Why am I sharing somebody else's resource? Excuse me, what the hell is going on here? And so from there, I realized that's actually something that I have wanted to do for a very, very long time. stories have just simply been something that I have grown up with. My father is an excellent storyteller. He would tell us stories as kids that he made up on the go. Just absolutely, when I asked him, like, can you please tell me a story? He had this whole thing with a frog family who lived in the forest and all the friends that they had and all the places that they went. And he always told me that it was from a book that he had read as a kid. And when I asked him once to give me that book for my birthday, he then came clean and said that that book never existed because I've just been making the stories up. And they were in the moment stories and they were gone. I remember some glimpses of it, right? I remember some fragments of it, but they were moment in time kind of things. I've carried that with me, and that really, that love for stories, that love for books, that love for making information structured and alluring and emotion provoking. That's just something that I really, really love to do. And I have found that through the work that I'm doing now, helping purposeful entrepreneurs really use the power of a story, and not in a way that it's pushy or salesy.
A quick break to let you know, if you are craving real conversations about what's actually working in marketing and what's not, come join us inside the Marketing Your Way community. It's a free space for women in marketing and creative roles who want to grow, connect, and explore what's next in their careers. Inside the group, we share industry news, unpack trends, explore how different roles are using AI to simplify and streamline their work, and we bounce ideas around from campaign strategies to career shifts. Whether you are freelancing, leading a team, or quietly wondering what else might be out there, you'll find women here who get it. Go to marketingyourwaypodcast.com/community or tap the link in the show notes to join us. I can't wait to see you inside. Isn't it amazing how universe works? Sometimes we are searching for answer, and when we find it, wow, this is exactly what I needed. And this is how I can use my strengths and my powers to help people in a completely different way. Probably not what you expected it to be from the very beginning. Hanna-Mari, how did that transition happen? You were in startup, then you were in sales. How did you decide, okay, I think it's time, I'll start something on my own? What was that push that made you do that transition, and how early few months of business building looked like for you?
So it was definitely a pushing out of the nest for me. Again, this had been coming on for a while, and I had been like toying with different brand and business ideas and so on. I was working with a client. I was doing some freelance product management work, and a couple of months ahead of time, they started to tell me it looks like the runway is just not working out for us, and it looks like we're going to have to let a lot of our workforce go, and obviously freelancers are usually the first ones to go, and they let me know ahead of time that this is just unfortunately the case for the company. And it was many months in advance that I knew that, and then I started looking for another project because I had it in my head that I don't want to go back to a 9-to-5 job. So I had become a freelancer after my son was born, which was 2021. And I just felt like this is not something that I want to pursue, like a full-time job somewhere at an office with the whole office politics thing coming along with it. And I just didn't feel like I had resources for it. And so I was like adamant that I would have to find myself another freelance gig. And I started looking pretty much the moment that they told me. And that was, I think, 3 months before the project was going to end. And whereas at the beginning of when I started working with that company, that was like, I think 8 months in, at the beginning of the project, I had, I think, 5 offers on my table with different companies wanting to get my help and sort of get me to work for them. And at that time, when the project was coming to an end, it was crickets. It was absolute crickets. Nothing was on offer, right? I was tapping into my networks. I was researching online. I was doing all the things, and I just couldn't find another freelance gig. Because if anybody listening is a freelancer, they probably know that this is quite a tough position to be in. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to try something different here. And I sat down and I told my wife, listen, I'm going to try to do something here. I'm going to try to actually go out on my own and start my business for real this time. Not freelancing, but really figuring out how to monetize my services, the ones that I actually want to do, how to really productize the services as well, courses and stuff like that. I was bawling. I was crying because it was such an emotional thing for me for some reason. And I was there thinking like, oh my God, like, ooh, she's probably going to say like, what about money and stuff like that? Not that she's that kind of a person, but I think it's just that trauma that we carry with us, right? And she was like, okay, what do you need? How can I help? And then I was crying even more, right? Of course. I was just sitting at the edge of the couch there and thinking to myself like, okay, all right, I'm going to start doing this. And of course, if you don't really know very clearly what you want to do and kind of you just have this idea of like, I want this change to happen in the world, but you don't really know how to do it, you absolutely start from scratch. You start trying different things. You start kind of putting yourself out there, and the first months were absolutely very calm and at the same time very brutal. Because calm in the sense that there were no demands on my time but my own. And at the same time, it can be very brutal because you are like, oh my God, there are no demands on my time but my own. And I'm the one who's supposed to call the shots, and I'm the one who's supposed to say like this direction, not that direction. And it's definitely something that can be very, very hard as you're seeing your savings dwindle and you're starting to feel the pressure of, oh no, what am I going to do if that runs out? And yeah, that was just really, really hard. And I would, from here, just simply recommend that take care of that financial state. So even if it means that you're going to have to take part-time job somewhere, maybe a lower paying gig somewhere, there's self-respect in that, and there's this calmness in that, where it's like, okay, I'm taking care of myself, and now on the side I actually have the means to do what I need to do. And ultimately that's what I ended up doing as well. I ended up getting a new like gig on the side just to make sure that I'm contributing and making sure that my ideas stays alive, and that's really what saved me, and what saved the business ultimately.
Thank you for sharing this, because a lot of times when we decide that it's time to start the business, we don't really have all the answers. And sometimes it's because we got laid off, or maybe because you cannot no longer work in the company that you work, for your mental health, for your family health, whatever the reasons are. It's never a linear position. You had your freelance offer, and that was great for while it was lasting, right? And then you had to do something else. I found myself in a similar shoes. I was still working full time. I was before pandemic, but it was an interesting time in real estate where it was kind of quiet in Miami, and you can tell that the partners were getting stressed. This tension within the department and all of that. And in my mind, I'm like, what if I get laid off now? I don't have a plan B. This is my main source of income. So I really need to have a plan B. At that time, I had a young daughter. She was 3 years old, and I was a sole provider. And it was very alarming moment. So what I ended up doing is that I was like, you know what? I do marketing. This is what I do. I'm going to create my own website. I'm going to put what I do, and that's it. And my boyfriend at that time, husband now, he's like, oh, so what do you do? Like, what are you doing with the website? What do you want to do? I am going to offer my services like social media, email marketing, website creation, all of the services that I know how to do. And I'm going to see how it sticks, right? So I put it all together. And then he's like, oh, actually, my boss is looking, he's switching industries and he needs help with social media. I can introduce you guys. I'm like, yes, that would be great. So that's how I landed my first client, who was not in real estate industry. He was a life coach. I've always been very big on self-development and all of that, but I've never really worked with life coaching industry or that type of service. The point here is you have to say yes. Sometimes the opportunity comes, and even though you're not feeling like you're qualified fully for that, you will figure it out. You just have to be not afraid to say yes and go for it. As in your case, you knew what you were doing, you knew what you want to do, but there was no clients yet. So you had to say yes to something that would bring peace to you, knowing that you're providing for yourself, for your family. That is very powerful, and we should not be afraid of doing what we need to do at that moment. Okay, sometimes what happens is that you start working on something else, and this idea kind of takes less attention and less attention and less attention. How did you make sure that that dream is still alive? How did you make sure that you're still working on Heroes and Guides? Is that the company that you created it then?
It's very funny actually, because I am ADHD to the nth degree, and I like to idea jump, right? As I mentioned, like go from flower to flower, kind of cross-pollinating the field, not sticking to one thing for too long. And it has been incredibly interesting that with Heroes and Guides, it's a completely different experience, because I feel like it's so multifaceted that it is not pushing, it is pulling me. I feel ideas coming into my mind as I'm just walking my dog, or I'm doing something completely different, than I just have this idea. And the times that I have like stood up really abruptly from having already laid down for the night, and I'm like, oh, I just got this idea, I need to put it down really quickly. Or I'm driving and my phone is full of just like little voice notes of like, oh, and maybe add this, and maybe like talk about this, and maybe write a blog post or write an email about that. And I get so inspired, and I feel like the fact that I just get those little moments of inspiration, that's definitely something that sustains me. And the second thing there, make sure that you take care of whatever you need to take care of, so that the idea doesn't die. The idea doesn't have to carry you, and it doesn't have to be this 7-figure company overnight, and only then it's worth pursuing, and only then it's worth my time, and only then, I need to see really, really fast steps forward, and only then I will pursue this further. It is something more for me. And I have to say as well that the clients that I serve are amazing. They are absolutely amazing. And I'm not saying this as an empty thing. I'm actually saying that they are absolutely amazing. The things that they do, Casey, one of my very first clients, is a sobriety coach, somebody who kind of wrestled her way out of mommy wine culture and now helps people do the same. And there's a philosophy behind it, and there's a story behind it. Julia, one of my clients, is somebody who helps divorcing couples figure out how to co-parent in a healthy way. Another one of my clients is Jen, who is like this intuitive sort of holistic architect who wants to help younger architects kind of coming up behind her figure out the things that they need to know in the industry, because she's been there for 20 years. And so these are the kinds of things that just absolutely sustain me. And even though I have taken small pauses here and there and kind of like caught my breath and like, oh, okay, let me just figure this thing out, or maybe I need some rest, and then I go back in. it kind of eliminates the fear that I'm going to start hating my business and the idea. And so the fact that you can just kind of not put all your eggs in that basket and kind of pressure your new idea to carry you through and be that thing, I think is really, really important.
I love that you touched on that point, because I think we sometimes so set on the idea of what the business needs to look like at the beginning. But it's important to remember that the version 1 of your business is just version 1. And you will be, by the time you are in year 5 of your business, you will be on the version 55 sometimes, because it changes and you change, and it is okay that the direction of the business changes too. And I love that you're working with so different types of people and just telling so many different stories that it helps with not getting bored in whatever you're doing. So thank you so much for sharing that. And to touch base more on like a branding and messaging, I think that also, like, when we start a business, am I a solopreneur? Do I want to start a company and have team? Do I brand myself as my name and I just do like whole branding? Let's say like Amy Porterfield, right? Her whole company is her name. She's very strong brand. All of these online entrepreneurs, they usually brand themselves with their name. And then sometimes we create a company name, right? So as you work with all these entrepreneurs, how do you feel? What would be your advice when you start? Do you build a brand around your name, or do you build a brand around your company?
So first, there are pros and cons on both sides. But what I would say is, day one, it does not matter. It does not matter at all. You can call yourself whatever you want. It does not matter. And it's so funny that we all do it. I have done it as well. That we just get stuck on the things that we can control because we need control. And venturing into entrepreneurship, you kind of feel like, okay, what can I do, right? I have no idea how to speak to my customer. I have no idea who my customer even is. I need to put something out there so that I could start connecting to my customers. So to put something out there, oh my God, I'm going to have to put my name on it, and I'm going to have to put my face on it. Okay, it has to be perfect. All right, so what's the name? Then we spend like weeks figuring out what the name is going to be. Does that sound like me? Does that, okay, is that domain available? Are the Instagram handles available? Is this, oh, darn, this has a trademark on it. So we get stuck on those things, and then we venture out and we get like somebody from Fiverr to do a full like brand identity for us. And then we like, oh, oops, that was the wrong idea, right? And then we turn the corner and just do something completely different, having wasted all of this time and energy on the things that in the grand scheme of things do not matter at all. You can always change it. You can switch from your name to your brand name. You can figure all of those things out. The most important thing that you need to do is connect with one customer or one potential customer and get to know them and start understanding what it is that your soul is trying to tell you, what's the world that you want to create, and then start reaching out to people who you think are your ideal customer and start talking to them, start understanding, is it the problem that they have? How can I match my skills to what they're trying to do? That's the most important thing. And everything else can follow from there, 100%.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I just wanted to hear your perspective on that, because a lot of times we get stuck, and even like naming the podcast. And I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I'd rather spend that time finding who I want to serve and what message I want to put out there instead of the name of the podcast. Because in the end of the day, you can represent either a business name, you can represent your own name, and It really is about who you help and how you can help more people at the same time, right? So I see that you help also with the website wireframe, right? Based on the websites you're reviewing for your clients, what is the common mistake that you see people do when they create their own websites?
Sure. So on the one hand, I would say that there are a couple of schools, maybe. There are the people who are very confident in what they're putting out there. And there are the people who I don't want to sound pushy. These tend to be like usually my clients who are like more timid about what they want to do, but know that they're doing something good, but don't want to come across as this sleazy salesman kind of pushing something on their customers. As my company name, inspired by Donald Miller's work, Heroes and Guides, it alludes to the fact that you are the guide to your customer who's the hero. And traditional marketing has us believe that it's the other way around, that you are the hero and you have to position yourself as such, and you have to talk about yourself with authority, and you have to talk about yourself in terms of your accolades and your certifications and your experiences and your client testimonials. And that's how you establish yourself to somebody visiting your website as somebody that they can trust. And so they will then kind of want to buy from you. Actually, psychologically speaking, that is backwards, because all of us, the way that our brains work is we are out looking out for ourselves. And it's just the way it is. I just wrote an email about that a couple of weeks ago as well. It's like, your customers are selfish. And that's the thing. Your customers are selfish. We all are selfish because our brain's primary aim is to make sure that we are looking out for ourselves, that we survive. And once survival is established, that we thrive. And so when visitors come to your website, they want to see, what is it that you will help me thrive with or help me survive? So what are the things that you can offer me that will help me survive and thrive? And a lot of companies and a lot of like smaller businesses as well, if they're not familiar with that philosophy, they oftentimes kind of start with, here I am. I established this business 10 years ago. This is all my work. I'm very important, and that's why you need to work with me. The new wave of how people perceive brands as well is, are you somebody that shares my values? Are you somebody that can really help me with this very specific challenge? Do I understand that this is what you do? Like, how can I understand what it is exactly that you're trying to do here? Clarity always beats any sort of trying to sound clever. Then it's about the authority. And another piece as well that people look out for, especially when it comes to things that are less about transactional services and more about heart to heart, more about personal, more about intimate. Again, my clients, sobriety coach, very personal, very vulnerable topic, right? Co-parenting counselor in a situation of divorce happening, very, very vulnerable. Do you understand me in a way that doesn't make me feel bad about myself? Can you convey in your messaging something that will make me feel like I'm held with you, that you see me, that you understand me? Maybe you've gone through this, but above all, I do not want to give you money and feel judged. And that's, I think, one of the really, really key basic things, where you start with the customer's aspiration, you touch upon exactly the challenges that they have, and you then go in a structured way. And this is what I do in my business as well, help them figure out the structure so that it doesn't feel pushy, but at the same time, it's super clear and brings out that empathy and authority aspects of their brand story as well. And one more thing in terms of a lot of people who just do not like that pushy, salesy way of doing things, often feel like they're a little bit shy about the call to action. So, oh my God, I don't want to put that button there because like I already put that button up there. But that's not really serving your customers. If you're timid about or afraid about putting your call to action out there, because ultimately the way that I like to think about it, and there's a quote that absolutely changed my mind about what storytelling is and how brands with a purpose and brands with a heart really can change their customers' minds, is Seth Godin has this quote where he says, "People don't believe what you tell them. They rarely believe what you show them. They often believe what their friends tell them, but they always believe what they tell themselves." And so for me, what that quote really does is it explains how, as storytellers, as purposeful brands, as people who want to really help our customers make a change because we have perhaps gone through something and we have come out of it from the other end and looking back, and we go like, oh, I really want to help people who are struggling with the same thing because that sucked. That was really bad. And I want to help them. And a lot of my customers are exactly that. They have gone through something, or they have come to a conclusion through their own inner work that they want to put something out there. And they have this philosophy. And at that point, it's important to understand that we don't really tell our customers what to do. We're not selling them on anything from the outside. What we're doing is we're, through those stories and through that messaging, we're giving a different story for them to tell themselves. Because that's really what we're doing. You cannot influence anybody from the outside. You can only make them see something or understand something or realize something from the inside. And that is what this is all about.
It's interesting how our generation sees things slightly different than the generation before. It is so important, big companies especially, to hire people from different generations because we speak to different types of people. And yes, that traditional form of marketing was a typical website. This is what I do. This is how many years I've been doing it. This is how many clients I helped. It was more about me. This is what I do. At the perspective of switching, where the customer is that main character, is very refreshing. And the brands that have been developed recently, they understand that. If you were to start your business today with knowing everything that you know now, what do you think the top 3 things you would do to start?
3 things. Wow. Okay. I would put it on paper, what it is that I want to achieve with this business. And I'm not talking about your growth numbers, grabbing that market share or growing to X number of customers or building a business of 7 figures or 8 figures, right? It all starts with what is it that I believe that if something happened in the world would literally be a better place. And what is it that I want to throw my weight behind? And that liberates you in terms of, it doesn't have to be one business idea. In my business, I absolutely truly believe that if more heartfelt, purposeful entrepreneurs thrived with their businesses and got to put out their unique view and their unique voice and their unique way of doing things, change the business landscape from within, that's where we would start to see absolutely beautiful, world-changing movements. I believe that if we can help entrepreneurs with a purpose thrive in this world of sleazy marketing, we can change the world. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to build this business. I can also build a different business. Maybe I can volunteer. Maybe I can help young marketers find their way quicker. I can do career counseling. I can build products or services of this kind or that kind, and it doesn't limit me. And so if one avenue is blocked for me, then I will like, oh, that didn't work. Okay, but my purpose is still the same. Let me find another way of doing this. And I'm not stuck on the fact that Heroes and Guides here needs to become a 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever figure business. I'm not stuck on that because ultimately my goal is not going to change. I still believe what I believe, even if this thing goes down. So I would definitely start with this I believe statement. And this is what I always start with my customers as well. The second thing is that I would absolutely go and try and do is speak to my customers as early as possible. That is the one thing that nobody can take away from you. That is the one thing that your knowledge about your customer is king. It is above everything. Because if you want to make that purpose happen that you just put down on the paper, you're going to need other people. Because if people don't believe in what you're trying to do, or they don't understand, or they don't resonate with it, or they don't need what you're trying to do, it is very difficult to make that dent and very difficult to bring that change about. And so that is absolutely key, is to figure out, sit down with your customers as early as you possibly can, to try and figure out, okay, here's my hypothesis. My hypothesis is that, which is funny, by the way, my hypothesis was for a very long time that my ICA is me. Just maybe a younger version of me. But what I found out through trial and error, and some people might laugh about that right now, but it took me a minute to figure out that I cannot be my ICA. Because if I was my ICA, I would not be sitting right here building this business. If I was my ICA, I would be out there looking for somebody to help me, not building that business on my own. And so there's that nuance sometimes that you can put your hypothesis out there that my customers are, from that area, or they're so old, or they are, have X experiences and X number of kids. But when you start to dig deeper, you understand, where I actually can make my biggest impact is with an absolutely different type of a customer. And so that's how I figured out as well that my customer generally tends to be a little bit older, more experienced in life in general. My third point would be just get started and put something out there. So learn about your customers and figure out something, anything. Don't go for the full thing of, I need to build this course. It has to be perfect. I have now done my research. I'm just going to build this course. It's going to take me 2 months to get it out there. Don't wait. After you have spoken to a couple of customers, put together a PDF with what you know that can really match what they want to achieve. A one-pager. Do a checklist. Do a 5 things that you need to know about real estate marketing. Ship it out to your customers and ask for feedback. And really make the smallest little step that you can possibly make in terms of getting that feedback early. Super, super early.
Let's talk about email marketing. If you're over clunky platforms and wasting hours designing emails, it's time for a change. Meet Flowdesk, the easiest, most beautiful email marketing tool out there. Stunning templates, simple automation, no limits on subscribers or emails. And the best part, you get 50% off your first year. That's just $19 a month. Grab your deal now at marketingyourwaypodcast.com/Flowdesk. It's marketingyourwaypodcast.com/FLODESK.
Because a lot of businesses die in the shelves of their founders because they bite off a little bit more that they can chew. They're not getting that immediate feedback. They don't even know if this is going to work. They start to doubt themselves. They start to overanalyze everything, perfect everything. And that's where your business just dies because you start to hate it, really. So, as I said, get your philosophy down, understand why you're doing this, understand your customers as best as you can. 5 people is enough to begin with. You will always learn more, and just get started with bringing them value.
A quick break to let you know, if you are craving real conversations about what's actually working in marketing and what's not, come join us inside the Marketing Your Way community. It's a free space for women in marketing and creative roles who want to grow, connect, and explore what's next in their careers. Inside the group, we share industry news, unpack trends, explore how different roles are using AI to simplify and streamline their work, and we bounce ideas around from campaign strategies to career shifts. Whether you are freelancing, leading a team, or quietly wondering what else might be out there, you'll find women here who get it. Go to marketingyourwaypodcast.com/community or tap the link in the show notes to join us. I can't wait to see you inside. This is so helpful. A lot of times we overthink the offering. We create this idea of the customer that we think that we know them really well. It's invaluable what you said about speaking early to the customer that you want to serve and to figure out this is what I want to do, and also the philosophy of what you want to help people with. And it has to be a small action just to keep the momentum going, to make sure that you keep going and moving forward. And I can speak to that. Sometimes we overcomplicate things and we want to go for this big thing, even though by making small steps or like creating a small offering, it's much easier to keep moving forward towards that big one than going all the way in for the big one to realize that you spend all that time, but people don't really need that. They need something else. Thank you so much for sharing that, Hanna-Mari. What's next for you? What is next for Heroes and Guides? Are you working on anything interesting? Any new projects?
I am putting together a course. Working title being Get Your Story Straight. This is a comprehensive course for people who really want to understand, define, and get clear on your philosophy. What is the change that you want to make in your industry or in the world? Then talking about your customer, how do you do customer research? How do you find those customers to talk to? What is it that you need to know about them to begin with? How to really understand that persona. Then it's about customer tone of voice, talking about how can we understand, how do we speak to our customers? How do our customers prefer to be spoken to, and the things that we do and we don't do, right, in our communication with our customers. And then once those things are all together, then I'll also dive into how the story comes together. This ultimately is going to yield in this comprehensive document, a Bible, if you will, that you can use and you can always share it with your freelancers, with people coming into your business, whether on a permanent or temporary basis, and you can always make sure that they understand the core principles of your business and brand story. This is what the course is going to be like. Doing some customer research as we speak. But if your listeners are going to go to heroesandguides.com/yourway, then they will find a nifty little waitlist that they can add themselves to. Once that course becomes available, then all of your listeners are going to get a 30% off discount on the course. I can't wait to see you there.
That's so exciting, Hanna-Mari. I will be the one signing up myself, because I think that getting your story straight, I love that name, by the way, is crucial, to make sure that your business survives and thrives throughout the process of different offerings, different things you work on. Thank you so much for that. So once again, it's heroesandguides.com/yourway. Hanna-Mari, thank you so much for sharing your story and behind the scenes of your business. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you today, and I cannot wait to see what's next for you and your business.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm always happy to discuss those matters. So it's been an absolute pleasure for me.
Thank you. And that would be it for today's episode of Marketing Your Way podcast. I hope you are walking away with fresh ideas, new insights, and the confidence to take your next step. If this episode spoke to you, please do me a favor and leave a review. It will help more marketing experts like you to find the show and build their dream business. And hey, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a new episode. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Until next time, keep building your marketing business your way.